Right, I think we're live. Oh, we are jingling as well. Don't want that. But yes, auto plays. Yeah, I think we are. I might want to double check that because it does look a bit weird. But yeah, no, I'm pretty sure we are.
Okay. Don't see anything yet.
It's all green, saying we're good. So
There we are.
yeah,
There it is. Just so you can hear me.
Light to me.
Okay. All sounding good. Let's do the old jingle jangle.
All right, yeah, let's do it. Let's go.
Cool. Hi everyone, welcome to the 143rd episode of the Quick Resume podcast, where we talk about video games. We talk about video games on platforms where you can play Xbox games. It's getting increasingly hard to do an intro to the show because can't just say that we talk about Xbox.
It's not a thing.
We talk about video games on platforms where Xbox games are played.
There you go. I think we've got the new name for our podcast.
It's so straightforward. It really rolls off the tongue. We missed last week. We're back this week, albeit for a shorter show tonight. So, you know, we hope no one's banking on us to get them through the night. I don't think that would work.
As if we'd ever done that.
Show.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there's a handful of things to get into today. You know, Gamescom happened, and then a lot of wider gaming things happened, Tim. You know, the Monkey game came out. Concord came out, allegedly. Hey.
Damn. Shots fired.
Yeah. And some other things which we'll get into. But otherwise, it's not been a massive few weeks. So, Tim, kick us off, buddy. What's the haps? How's the brain? How's the gamer brain?
Yeah, not too bad. Yeah, I mean, in the last couple of weeks, I haven't done too much gaming. We've bumped up Valorant a little bit. We've been playing a little bit more Valorant than we normally do. I think we found some time for that. I am still deciding what my next sort of game is going to be. I am thinking Dragon's Dogma, but then I have this dilemma where if I want to play it, I can only play that downstairs in my office where my main Xbox is. And if I want to like chill and play it upstairs, I'm gonna have to like take my Xbox upstairs because I can't download it on my Series S, which is pretty annoying. So yeah, I'm not too sure about that, but still like half deciding what my next game's gonna be there. And yeah, I mean, outside of the game brain, I handed my notice at work, so I'm getting done with that place.
Oh, yeah.
Moving on to hopefully bigger and better things.
You got any final words for him?
Well, they might stumble across this, but
it'll be right.
Nothing I haven't already said. Yeah, just an extremely extremely toxic workplace in the sense of valuing your employees. It's ridiculous. Yeah, so not pleased with them at all. So I just had enough of that carrot being dangled in front of me and just told them to stuff it, to be honest. So yes, and I've already got something kind of in the pipeline, so hopefully that's all good. But I've got a holiday coming up, and I'm thinking I might just take a few weeks off and just chill out for a little bit, and then sort of hit the job grind like proper hard. Or if this turns into anything, then great. But I'm in that sort of situation where even if I find something immediately, I feel like because I'm on holiday and like a couple weeks probably by that point anyway, maybe I'll just say I'm on holiday all month sort of thing and then just start after. But that's kind of been the main thing that's happened with me over the last couple of weeks. Not too much for the game brain. But yeah, that's it.
Have you had any interviews yet?
No interviews. To be fair, I've only applied to 2 jobs because I'm not really proper like looking. Like I said, I wanted to just have like a few weeks off. maybe a week just chilling, playing games and stuff, and then go on my holiday, which I've already had booked. So I've only been kind of applying to stuff that I like the look of, that's actually caught my eye instead of, sort of not mass applying, but I'm basically being picky at the moment. So, and one of them's already got back to me. So, that's all well and good. That will turn into an interview, I'm sure. So, yes, that's me.
Personally, I'm excited for you to be the new CEO of Twitter. Like, I'm pretty proud of you for being able to take that step.
No, I'm going to ban your account now.
Can you change the name back? Or change it to something like really anything, any other letter of the alphabet.
I'm just going to add another X. It's going to call it XX.
X squared. You can have a little 2 at the end.
Put more ring to it than just X.
Yeah. Sweet. Well, it's been going for the both of us, hasn't it? I've started a new job this week, so I'm, knee deep into that. Mandatory training. Mandatory training, man.
Is that where they teach you not to swallow pens or something?
Yeah, like how many times do I have to be told to like not look up terrorism on my laptop?
Yeah, or in the event of a fire, you leave the building. Thanks. Yeah. Without that, I would have stayed in and cooked. Yeah. Without knowing that information.
How many times data security? How many times do I need to go over this? And it's mental as well, because especially in the NHS and in the care sector, you have to repeat them every year anyway. I have been in 3 jobs, including this one. I've been in 3 jobs in the last 6 months. Like the tail end of the third one, and then the main one in the last 2 months, and 4 months, and then this new one I've just started.
Mm-hmm.
And none of them, none of it transfers. They're just like, yeah, I know you've got the certificates, but it would be such a pain. So just do it again. And it's like, oh, for God's sake.
Yeah.
It's like, although it hasn't been too bad this time around, because the last one I was at, I had to go through. I had to do like 30 mandatory training, which I've already done before. And then, you do a little quiz at the end. And if I didn't get a certain score, it would lock me out for 24 hours and make me go through the whole training again.
Oh, no.
And it's like, this is so stupid. How is this good for anyone's, this is not efficient.
No, it really isn't. Sounds awful. Oh.
It's really just the equivalent of the teacher just being like, read from chapter 3 to chapter 65,
Yeah. But hopefully you're kind of just cruising through that with half brain. I'm sure, right? It's not too taxing.
I don't read most of them because by the time I get to the assessment, I just know most of I know enough to get 80% or more. Mm-hmm. So it's just
nice.
But yeah, big weeks in the Quick Resume household. Other than that. We've been playing a bit of Valorant, haven't we? We've got a new agent coming out, which I don't believe either of us have tried out yet. We've got Vice.
She looks cool though. Looks right up my alley in terms of play style and Sentinel. I tend to play that role quite a bit, so yeah, I'm excited. She looks cool,
and it's on parity with PC release as well, which is great. Love to see it.
Yeah, you love to see it.
Tell you what, I kind of don't love to see. You don't get access to Vice straight away, Tim. You have to earn a certain amount of XP to unlock her.
Oh.
You got to grind for the bitch.
Oh.
Even though we got Game Pass.
So what? So there's just an XP bar for her?
Yes.
Really? How weird.
I think, maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like you can just buy her immediately, so I think it's just create a problem and then sell the solution sort of thing. So people can just bypass that if they want to, but it's 20k XP, so it's not too long, but it's not short either.
That's basically like a weekly challenge. You just do a weekly challenge that will shoot you all the way up. It's not too bad.
Yeah, but still, it does kind of deflate the hype a bit of the next agent launch.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because you just kind of want to just jump in, right, and try her. But not to mention, even when you have her, good luck actually getting her in the lobby. You have to be on it. You have to memorize that pattern. Up, down, right. X. Done. You're done. You're in.
Yeah. That's the Konami code just to get to her quick.
Yeah, exactly.
Just quick hello to Joaquin in the chat. Hey man. Yeah, we didn't cancel the show in the end. I wanted to warn everyone that we might have to cancel, but we managed to pull it together. We had
Keep your
a nurse
tender
home
hooks.
team. Yes, exactly. So here we are. But we are going to be doing a short show today because we're starting a bit later. I'm playing anything else. I'm playing Dragon's. Have I spoken about Dragon's Dogma on the show? I guess I haven't.
I don't think you have, no, because I asked you online about it for the first time like a week ago. So no, you haven't.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I started Dragon's Dogma 2. I bought it a couple months ago in a sale. And me and Tim really were fond of the first one. I don't think I ever actually finished the first one, but I really
I did.
liked it.
I finished the game. I did. It's not often this happens.
And the DLC, actually. I think you finished the DLC as well, didn't you? Dark Arisen.
Oh yes, yeah, I did. Yeah.
You did, yeah. So we were really fond of it. It was always a bit of a kooky game. It's a bit of a weird one, Dragon's Dogma. It was like the exploration was like really good, but it was slow and tedious. It's quite hardcore. It's kind of semi-hardcore RPG. Or it has like a tabletop feel to it, and I can't really explain why. It just kind of does. And Dragon's Dogma 2 definitely has more of that. In the sense that it's not really like an action RPG. Like there is, of course, action, but like I'm playing the Archer, right? And like there's no dodge button. There's no like evade. It really does feel like you're part of your team of pawns. Which is quite cool, to be honest. Like it's quite cool because usually in RPGs, I'm really not a fan of like teams and squads. I'm just like I don't like micromanaging 5 different people. Yeah, I don't mind having like a single companion. Like I'm fine with that.
Even that
like,
kind of annoys me sometimes.
Skyrim, the Outer Worlds. I personally think the Outer Worlds did it best. Like they're there, and they engage in every like conversation you have. They have something to say, like a flavor to add to it, or they can unlock like a different dialogue option. And in combat, they just kind of do their own thing, and they have a single button. No, I think it's 2 buttons for a skill which you can assign to them. Yeah. And that's it. That's the extent of it. Like I don't have to go in and like spend an hour, like poring over candlelight and spreadsheets trying to figure out how to optimize. I don't like that. It's annoying. Like especially because I'm not even playing them. So it's like, what's the big deal?
Yeah.
So usually I don't really like that. But there's very little micromanaging here. You have like your main pawn who you make, and you level them up with you, which is fine. But generally, like it's kind of cool. Like I think it's kind of cool. The way it's balanced is that it does make you feel like you're a team. Like you cannot solo things in that game generally, because things will just run up to you and kill you. Like I think like the soldier class does have a guard. I think the thief, no, not thief. What's it called? Rogue.
Yeah,
probably rogue does have a dodge, but I think there are like 7 classes in total in the game. You start with 4, and so yeah. Anyway, point being that it's not like a Souls game in that sense, and like you're not meant to solo stuff really, and that's great. I think that's kind of cool. I will say, like I'm not really here for the story. I'm here for just like kind of the exploration and adventuring. It is surprisingly like it feels surprisingly low budget. It reviewed quite well. I think it came in at like 87 or something, so it reviewed really well. But I am surprised at like how low budget it feels, and I mean that in the sense of like the visuals are like not all that great. The animation is fine. The VFX are fine. The motion capture is bad. Yeah. The voice acting is fine. It's just kind of overall, like the core loop of the game is really like compelling, and that's what kind of brings it all together. And this is what I was talking about with it having like a tabletop feel or a bit more of a hardcore feel. If you're adventuring from one part of the map to the other, you have one opportunity to save, and like if you keep reloading at that save and you can't get past like this group of enemies, or you can't even turn back now because every time you try turning back, you're ambushed and it's nighttime. Your only option would then be to restart at the last place you slept in an inn. And that
Okay.
could have been hours ago. Let's say, this adventure across the map has taken like quite a few hours.
Hmm.
Um, so like there is preparation needed. You are going to have to go to camps and stop and rest up because when you take damage, your health slowly chips away in the sense that you can't heal it back. And if you
Okay.
die and reload your last save, your health will deteriorate like permanently until
Ah.
you've slept. So you can't just keep retrying something. Well, like you could, I suppose, but eventually you're going to be left with like a couple pixels of health, like 'cause it's going to permanently
Hmm.
decrease. So it's quite obviously, a really deliberate design decision, but it makes it quite scary, like to actually like traverse the world unless
Mm.
you've got like a full squad. You're upgrading at every point you can. So there is this constant sense of like risk reward, sticking with your team, wanting your team, your squad to like be good as well as you. Um, but also wanting to level up, get gold, get better armor and stuff like that. So I'm
Okay.
enjoying it. I'm enjoying it so far. But it's like it's really I just haven't. There's not many other games like it on the market. I don't think it feels quite classic RPG as well, but just from a third person perspective. Yeah. And it still has the kind of kookiness of the first game. I do. I mean, just from like the 10 hours I've spent with it, I do wish that it did have a bit more of a budget injection this time around because it's quite apparent that this game was still made on a shoestring budget.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's quite interesting everything you said there because it's like, I don't know, parts of it sound great, and then parts of it kind of sound like it could be kind of annoying. Um, I don't
For sure.
know. Does it sort of strike the balance quite well? Because I mean, at the end of the day, you kind of play a game to be fun as well. Like you don't want to be gated too hard and have to prep too much and have to, like I get they're trying to make it feel like a living world and a journey, but like does it ever kind of feel like a inconvenience or a bit annoying sometimes?
I mean, it just depends what you're into. Like, there's no fast travel. Like, if you're the sort of player who just wants to fast travel from town to town to like tick the boxes on your quest list,
Yeah.
that's not an option here. Like, you get crystals throughout the game that do allow you to travel to places you've already been, but it's a one-use thing. Like you're gonna have
Uh,
very limited opportunities to do that. So it just depends. It's definitely a mood. Like it's definitely a mood. Like that if you're the sort of player who likes traditional open world games where you can just travel anywhere, or maybe even wide open linear games where you're just constantly going forward and just get these set pieces and
mm,
encounters brought to you,
yeah.
you might find this a bit tedious at times. There are definitely times where I've gone out, finished a quest, and it's like now I have to walk all the way back. And
Mm,
I've been like, I don't want to do that. But then once I kind of get into the flow of it, the map isn't as big as they make you think it is. You move across it quite quickly. They just make it quite dense and difficult so that it slows you down.
okay.
Um, so yeah, I could definitely see that it would be tedious at times because like you said, they really wanted to make it feel like an adventure and a journey, and that's like a really core principle of the game.
Mm,
But at the same time, that can be really fun and rewarding as well, because those are the sorts of things where you go out to do something and you see a cave and you're like, shit, like I actually don't know if I could
yeah.
make this work.
Do I want
Like it
to or
actually puts
do I?
pressure on that
Yeah.
decision.
Yeah.
It's not just a cave. I'm going to go into it because it's basically just a shiny item deposit. It's like, no, am I going to make it back or am I going to get stuck here? Because
Mm,
there's a day night cycle and nighttime is like fucking impossible. Nighttime is
really.
like, if you get caught out in the world at nighttime, you're really going to struggle.
What do things just
s-
get stronger, or is it just more, or is it just like different
I think there's just
spawns?
more, yeah, yeah. So there are different spawns, more bigger monsters come out for sure. Your visibility sucks, and so you have to use a lantern, but the lantern alerts all the nearby monsters to you.
Uh,
Um, but then there's also like, your pawns have permadeath, right? So if your pawns die, they die.
Yeah.
Even I'm pretty sure the one that you make can die. Or maybe they just die and you can respawn them at an inn. But the other two, because you have a party of 4 that you recruit, which you might become quite fond of, they can perma die.
Mm,
So yeah, that's I suppose the advantage. It does have this kind of Soulsian risk reward to it, but just not in the same way that
yeah.
Souls does it. In this, it's like I'm going to get stuck out in the world if I'm not careful, or I run out of potions, and I've reloaded my save 5 times, and now I'm got a tiny bit of health, and I have to go back to the inn, which I didn't do. I'm done for 6 hours, So yeah, there is like constant pressure there, and like a real sense of risk reward when it comes to traversing the world, which I think it does make it fun and tense to play, like in a good way. But
Mm,
yes, at times it can be tedious, especially if you're not in the mood to go about doing that.
okay. And just obviously not to drag on this too much. I'm assuming no difficulty option either. The game's just set to what it is, right? Or do you have an easy, medium, and hard?
I think it's just a dynamic difficulty.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. It definitely sounded like it, but yeah, I just wanted to confirm. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm enjoying it
Nice.
so far. But there are things,
You said performance
like just
sucked. Yeah.
yeah, performance is ass. It's a real shame. Like they added it post launch, I'm pretty sure, but they call it low quality mode. It's basically a performance mode, but even then, it's kind of between 40 and 50 frames. It's
Mm,
fine. It's not like a quick action game, so you probably could tolerate it on high quality mode, which is basically the resolution mode, and it is fixed at 30. If you play it in that, so it's not like
okay.
it's not horrendous,
Mm,
but it doesn't feel super great. But particularly as me using the archer, like I do quite a lot of aiming, so like I just want the higher frame rate.
yeah, yeah.
And then there's other things as well. Like in the first Dragon's Dogma, I don't know if you remember. Like, could you go in water? Could you go in like lakes? Or did you get eaten immediately by
I
a
don't think you could go in deep water, no.
right?
I think you go up
So
to
that's
like your ankles and shit, but you couldn't
yeah,
do any more than that, I don't think.
yeah. So that's the same here. Yeah, any more than your ankles, and there's like a I can't remember what they call it, like the blight or something. It's like a red water devil thing that just spawns under your feet and eats you.
Okay.
Um, if you go into water, which is just like a bit disappointing, to be honest. It's like I get that they use it as a mechanic on the map to make you see the river and be like, oh shit, I've got to get around that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but it just feels like one of those areas that would have been really good to kind of like evolve from the first game, and that hasn't been the case. So there's a handful of things like that where I'm like, it does feel like a bit dated in some ways, and again, like I said, a bit like low budget. Like this game actually had a fairly small team over
Yeah.
maybe the 5 years it was developed. But yeah, it's good. I am really enjoying it. Having said all that, like the skills are fun, the classes are fun. Like going through the world is fun and rewarding. So yeah,
Nice.
yeah,
Very
yeah,
good.
yeah. Very good. Okay, so let's get into some of like the topics for the week. Before we get into it, I just very quickly wanted to shout out to our fellow Xbox podcasts over there, XboxEra, who have they recently attended Gamescom, and they recently released a card game, Tim. And I thought I sent this
Mm,
to you, didn't
you
I?
did. Yeah,
I proudly backed it because it looks like a lot of fun, even though I'll probably only ever get to play it like once a year. Nonetheless, like it's a cool product, and I've watched their shows for a while, and I just thought I'd give it a shout out here. Um, Go and have a look. It's on Patreon. It's only got a week left of the funding, so if you want to get in, probably while it's at the cheaper price point and get some of the freebies, because it's hit some of its stretch goals as well. So they're giving extra stuff out, for the stretch goals it hits.
yeah. Mm,
And I think the next one is like a playmat. I don't know if they'll hit it. But it looks really fun. Like they use a lot of parodies of games, and it's like Monopoly but with gaming IP.
cool.
You're trying to get fans on your popular franchises and capitalize on that.
Mm,
So yeah, super fun. It's like a parody Console Wars, card game. But they took it to Gamescom as well, and all the feedback was really positive. So just wanted to shout that out. Go and have a look. Go support them if you like a good card game.
Nice.
Okay, Tim, I've got 4 things on the docket today for general stuff. Monkey Game.
Yep.
Concord.
Mm-hmm.
Expedition 33 gameplay.
Yep.
And Call of Duty multiplayer and zombies. Where do you want to start?
Let's start with Let's start with Concord.
Really thinking.
Because I want to be right. I was right, everyone. So I want this. I want this to be before viewers drop off. I want them to know, listeners drop off. I want them to know that I was right.
I mean, everyone was right, man.
Say it.
Everyone was right. Yeah, you were right. Everyone was right. I was wrong.
Yeah.
There's still time, though. There's still time.
I did kind of agree with you that I thought the game wouldn't review as bad as it did, like critically. I thought it would be more solid than it actually turned out to be. I think like you said, everyone and their mum could have called that this game was kind of going to be dead on arrival. I don't think quite what it turned out to be, but I think a lot of people did call that. Yeah. But yeah, just weird that it kind of flopped in all areas, to be honest. So yeah.
Yeah, in case you don't know, Concord, the new first-person multiplayer shooter coming from PlayStation's newly acquired studio, Firesprite? Is it
Firewalk.
Firesprite? Firewalk. Don't know who Firesprite is. It's a cool name, though.
That sounds cool, man. Yeah, maybe they could
sure
liquidate and change their name to Firesprite.
Yeah. And it launched to like sub 700 players on Steam. The game's been in development for 8 years. Oh my god, it's
over 100 players a year.
It's on a 65 on OpenCritic. Although IGN gave it a 7, meaning it's just as good as Starfield. So
that's crazy.
It's the same amount of good.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is an unfortunately huge flop. I mean, talk to me a bit more, Tim. You've taken your victory lap. Like, what's the deal here? What happened with Concord? What's the post-mortem? Concord wasn't just killed, it was murdered.
Oh, that's that YouTuber. What's his name?
Yeah.
Death of a Game, isn't it? I think he's called.
Yeah, so that's his thing, yeah.
And he's like the detective. Yeah, I watched some of his stuff. It's quite funny, actually. Yeah, man. I think there's a lot I think you can pinpoint that was wrong here. I don't think the game is bad. I think you look at the game, you play the game, and you're probably thinking, this looks alright, this feels alright. Character is a little bit wonky, don't get me wrong, but like I think it feels and looks pretty good. I just think it's the year this game came out in. This game is just not a 2024 game. Like everything about it, like just the whole hero shooter formula, just copy and paste, not copy and pasted, but you kind of get what I mean, like the whole idea behind it. When all of the massive competitors are already free to play, massive established audiences that won't really pivot from those games, and then you also charge an entry fee on it. I mean, that's the nail in the coffin. I think the idea of the game just doesn't work, and then I think the entry fee is just absolutely buried them. Like why are you charging 40 quid for this? I think even if this game, right from square one, they marketed it as free to play, I still think this game would have flopped. Even that. But the 40 quid entry fee just didn't even give it a fucking chance. Like I just don't know what they were thinking.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is. We mentioned earlier, the game has been in development for 8 years, and I think that's really pertinent because do you know when Overwatch launched?
Yeah, 2016, 8 years ago.
8 years ago.
They basically just said, "Hey, let's do this," and then it took a fucking way longer than they thought. and they should have just canned it. They should have just been like, this just doesn't work. Like a couple years down the line, we're too late to the race here, but they just didn't. So
Yeah, I mean it is interesting. It's like what people say, about like chasing market trends being particularly difficult in the game industry, because of the length of development cycles. It takes so long, and then by the time you finally get there with the right amount of quality, the market's moved on or it's saturated. And the market hasn't moved on in this case, but because hero shooters are still as popular as they've ever been, more maybe even more popular than they've ever been, just in different varieties. Overwatch being like the purest one, Apex being the battle royale infusion, Valorant being the CS:GO infusion, Siege being the Rainbow Six version. So they're just like different varieties of it. And Concord, I think, felt like it was it maybe just couldn't quite carve out that identity of like what is it, like what's new here, like what's the combination that's making this stand out.
yeah.
But it's rough. It is rough. Like that is a I think we probably could say that this is the biggest AAA flop we've ever seen. Like I don't think I would be.
Yeah.
I don't think I like or like per capita, like it's the biggest flop per capita. Like for the time and money and budget, it's
Yeah.
it's not likely to last.
No, this game is going to be well, I mean, I think they're obviously going to throw out some lifelines. I think it's pretty obvious they're going to package this into a PlayStation Plus subscription, right? At some point, probably some point quite soon, because you can't just be having hundreds of players on your game. Because I mean, I even hear like over the last like day or two that people on PlayStation are even struggling to find games, because obviously that's the one sort of number that we can't indicate, is the fact that obviously you got Steam numbers, they're awful, whatever, but it's just like, what if PlayStation is substantially better? I still think it's only going to be a few thousand max, based on the reception that Steam's got. But apparently they're even struggling to find games, man. Like people are just stuck in like endless queue times on the main platform. So they're going to package it into PlayStation Plus, but it's just not enough. The damage is done already. People are experiencing long queue times on a game they're on the fence about anyway, a game that disappointed them, and they're just not going to be playing it. By the time that happens, they're going to drop off, and I would even be surprised if this game still has its servers up by like next year, like 2025, if I'm honest.
Yeah, and I mean, I tweeted about this, but I think that this is one of the things that surprised me about the whole ordeal. Like, as I've repeatedly said, I am like a hero shooter lover. Like, I think I really, I prefer hero shooters to other types of shooters generally. Like, it allows you to add so much flavor and character to all of the different like classes or kits or whatever. You can get really like invested in a certain character because there's multiple layers to it, like the game style, the gameplay, the aesthetic, the backstory to the character, things like that. But it just doesn't seem that this was able to pull that off. And even then, like, we talk about it being such a late dev cycle and whether they should have scrapped it or not. Apex only came out in 2019. Valorant was only 2020, and now Valve's got this deadlock thing, in development. And that's just, I've just seen, it's just popped up on my feed that it just hit 100K. It's in a closed alpha, Tim, and it hit 100K concurrent players.
I mean, it's Valve, though, to be fair. Like, Valve are such a name, like, such a big brand name. Like, they take forever to make their games, but when they come out, they tend to be really, really good and very sought after. So it was always going to happen. But actually, have you actually seen that? Like, on a little tangent, it looks pretty cool. It's like a MOBA
I haven't really, to be honest.
like hero shooter. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Yeah. Kind of Battleborn.
But like,
Yeah.
Yeah, but like I think that's the flavor there, right? You know, they've taken the hero shooter and they're like, well, what other genre can we mosh it into? A MOBA,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and then that's probably going to give it an identity.
Mm-hmm.
But there is also something interesting to be said about the fact that Concord was Firewalk's first game. So like there wasn't as much clout there. And I think PlayStation kind of had given up in terms of marketing it. It was a very Xbox move that they pulled with that, like just not bothering marketing it.
Mm.
Um, versus all those other hero shooters I've listed coming from well-established developers slash publishers, you know, and
Yeah.
that's I'm sure there's something interesting there as well.
But it's weird as well because you said they dropped the marketing on it. So at what point in its life cycle? Because they were obviously absolutely buzzed about this, bought up the studio, and were like, "We want this because of the game." And then at what point were they just like, "Oh, let's just shit this thing out to die"? Because they didn't buy them that long ago. So like that decision must have happened very quickly. Must have been from just 0 to 100. They must have been like, "This is fantastic. We want you. Throw money at you." Couple months later, like I just don't understand. Yeah, I guess it was the reception to it, right? Because they obviously showed it off with that like cinematic thing, and then which people weren't even that fond of. People were calling it like Wish Guardians of the Galaxy, and then people found out it was a hero shooter, and I just think like, oh, it just was not a good first impression, was it? Um, so
Well, the thing is, I didn't feel that way. Like, I guess you
I
know, this
did.
is me. Just like I'm not just I wasn't just being a contrarian when I was saying like I think it's going to perform reasonably well. I think it looked pretty good, like from the beginning. Like I remember seeing the CGI trailer and then coming off and everybody being like, "Oh man, this looks nothing like the actual game." And it's just like to me, it's like, well, yeah, I don't know, it's a trailer, yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't know, like it's not, it doesn't. And I thought the aesthetic was really cool. I don't think there's anything like it on the market. Like yeah, it is Guardians of the Galaxy esque, you know, and it's like retro sci-fi, lo-fi, whatever. But there's nothing really like that on the market in terms of
mm,
playable games that isn't Guardians of the Galaxy. I didn't have a problem with that. So yeah, clearly a lot of people did. I'm just saying, like, that wasn't the lens that I viewed that game through most of the time.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I kind of know what you mean. There's no reason, like you said, because there's no current game in the market that does that. But for whatever reason, the game just offended people immediately. Like people were just immediate pitchforks and torches, and I don't really know why, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, I was definitely one of those people. I mean, I wasn't like making fun of it and saying it was garbage, but even after that CG trailer and the reveal, I was like, nah, I just don't think that's it, man. Like, I just didn't get a vibe from it. And then yeah, when I found out what it was, but yeah, I don't think anyone expected it to quite do that bad, and you know, I don't even think Sony or the developers were quite expecting numbers that low. Um, that's like you
I
said, that's probably the worst in history. Like,
I think it speaks to like the appetite of the wider casual and maybe core market even to a degree. Because I you know like I remember feeling this way about um like other games in the past where like on paper like knowing the devs making a certain game and based on just like the CGI trailer, I'm like, cool, like this could be really cool. But then I have a look at like comment or Twitter or Reddit, and everyone's like, who the fuck asked for this shit? Who the
yeah,
fuck wants another one of these? And I'm like, oh my goodness gracious. Like, and at times, you know, that skepticism was warranted. You know, maybe I'm just like a gullible dickhead, you know, maybe this is a me problem. Um, but, you know, I see it happen quite a lot. Like, this is a really bad example because it's going to make me look like you know a complete idiot, which you know, fine,
let's hear it.
maybe I am. But Redfall, you know, like Redfall got revealed. We got a CGI trailer. It was a co-op sim from the team behind Prey, Dishonored One. And we were both like quite excited. You know, we were
Yeah,
like on paper, like, cool, this is really exciting. But immediately, you know, the kind of response was like, who the fuck wants another Left for Dead bullshit fucking woke character bullshit, you know,
yeah, yeah,
it's and it was just like this really like unreasonable response about for what I felt was unreasonable response because it was like another game in this genre. People are saying this about Concord with like another hero shooter. I'm like, how many hero shooters launch? Like, there aren't that many hero shooters. Like,
Yeah,
we get one every like 3 years.
yeah. There's not that many. I still I think it was kind of what we were talking about on the on Xbox the other night. Like I also just think it comes with the fan base and the territory that this game is just coming into. I just think competitive shooters, team-based shooters, hero shooters, they all kind of fall in the same categories. I'm saying them all. It's just a very toxic fucking fan base, dude. Like I think the people, obviously Overwatch 2 is still extremely popular, but I bet if you did a survey of people that play Overwatch 2 regularly, they would say they fucking hate the game. Like it is a piece of shit garbage and they want to kill all the devs. But then they boot it up every single day and play it for 8 hours, and they will never not play that game. So even though they hate it, a newcomer into that market is never ever going to grab their attention. I don't know. I just think it's just a really weird like audience to try and capture as well. Like I really do think that is part of it.
Definitely. Like I totally get that. Like I can't deny the market realities of this, but like this is my big takeaway from me being like wrong about this is that I really felt that as a PlayStation first party release, a lot of the crowd who screams about hero shooters would be like, it's a PlayStation first party release. I'm gonna give this a go. Like no, I didn't. I did not anticipate that people hate hero shooters more than they love PlayStation. I did not expect that at all.
Yeah, that is quite shocking. I have to admit, I was thinking, yeah, like you said, there was going to be a little bit more loyalty towards just giving it a go, right? Or at least trying it. And especially with like the sort of, that PlayStation bought the studio and everything like that. Like, wow, they must see something in this. Let's give it a go, guys. Like, but again, I just think if it's that entry fee that I think did kill it. Like in that aspect, I think you would have had a lot more of that if the game was marketed right from the point it was announced as a free-to-play title. I think you would have got a lot more of what you're talking about, of people just giving it a go because it's Sony and it's PlayStation and stuff like that. But people aren't willing to just give a go for 40 quid to something like a hero shooter that they really are just not a fan of, and that had its betas and alphas and stuff like that leading up to that just performing awfully in terms of like just how it looked and all that sort of stuff and numbers. So yeah.
It's a very interesting case study in all of this, especially when we talk about, black hole games and, that report that we had a while back about like the average age of the game being played today is like 6 years old or something like that. How people sink into these routines and just like how they're kind of happy with that, and I definitely feel that. Like I feel that way about Valorant at the moment. It's very much the game that I just kind of want to get into if I'm playing with friends. I do make time for single player stuff on the side but I'm like a hardcore enthusiast. Not everybody runs a stupid fucking podcast about a dying Starting brand.
Oh my god, dude. It's all coming out.
Just kidding. That's funny. So I guess as we like wrap up this subject, I just wanted to like phase out with the question of like, where does this leave PlayStation like their new strategy looking at service games, right? They had Helldivers 2, which I'm not sure they can take credit for, to be honest. Whatever. Like they did publish it. They hardly marketed it at all because I don't think they anticipated any sort of success with it. And the game fucking blew up.
Yeah.
It wasn't from a first party studio. They did publish it. It would be the equivalent of like Stalker later this year completely blowing up. Would we
Yeah.
give credit to Xbox for that? Probably not. Or like Power World earlier in the year, right? I don't think many of us consider that to be an Xbox success.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm misremembering that. Maybe that was not published by Xbox, but you've seen my point. It was
Yeah.
they're not first party studio. So
I see
what
your
do you
point there.
think? And this is on top of the already cancelled Last of Us game, the cancelled Spider-Man multiplayer game, and something else I'm forgetting as well.
Yeah, well, there's that upcoming one, isn't it, by Bungie that's not looking too hot at all.
Oh yeah.
I forgot what that's called now.
Marathon, and
Marathon.
also Fair Games, that Fair Game one they announced as well, which kind of looked a bit generic as well. They announced
Yeah.
that a while back.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, and I guess I don't know. Could you put like things like foam stars in there as well? It's like a
It
kind
probably
of a
wouldn't be
live
fair.
servicey kind of
Yeah,
thing. I don't really know.
if I'm saying they're not getting credit for Helldivers 2, it wouldn't be fair to say that they do get credit for Foam Stars because that was
Okay.
published by Square Enix.
Yeah. But yeah, I think they're shitting themselves. I think they've they're trying to pivot towards something that they clearly have absolutely no experience in, and every time they've tried to get experience in and dip their toes in, it has failed horribly for them. Like it's either just come into a non-existent game that was just flushing money down the toilet, or a game that actually did exist but was equally flushing probably more money down the toilet. Um, and yeah, future projects that aren't looking too hot and people aren't excited for, and people are no doubt at this point also just losing their faith in the fact that Sony are able to create something like this, and that they're very much instilling this we only make one type of game further into their audience. Like people were kind of mocking them for it and just being like, "Oh yeah, you guys only make one kind of game, but that's fine. We like our Horizons and God of War." And they were like, "Bet." And then they were like, "Oh, actually, yeah, you're right." Like that's basically what they're saying. And yeah, I think they're kind of I think they're kind of shitting themselves, to be honest. And I wouldn't be surprised if they just pivot and just be like, yeah, we're just gonna absolutely green light and pedal on the floor Horizon 3 or something like that, just to get some more money in the bank here, because it is not worked out so far for them at all.
No, and this in particular has to be such a sore spot in their financials. Like good luck reporting back to the shareholders with this. That's gonna sting.
Yeah. Oh
Um,
fuck me. Yeah. They got in that
and
meeting.
and they've yeah, and man, they've got to be looking at this and really panicking. Well, I guess maybe they're feeling they made the right decision, like canceling like Last of Us multiplayer. Maybe,
Still a lot
like
of
maybe
money
because
wasted though.
I mean, yeah, that is true. But like as well, like maybe
I still think that game would have done
like that
well
was probably
though.
going to perform better. It would have probably
Yeah,
performed
because
better
it's
than
Last of
this.
Us. Shit's still gonna
Yeah,
sell, man. Even if it's trash, people
exactly.
will still hit that pre-order button. It might come out to a Metacritic of 65 or something like that, similar to Concord, but it's still gonna sell a hell of a lot more than Concord ever did or would have. So it's more of a safe
Yeah,
bet. It's weird that they cancel something like that and then go ahead with something like Concord. That doesn't make sense to me. Like that's way more
yeah.
of a risk than developing an undercooked Last of Us multiplayer, unless they just didn't want to tarnish the brand name in any way.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I think they did say that somewhere. Maybe it came out in the ABK. I can't remember. I feel like they said that somewhere, but I can't remember where. So don't quote me. That it was risky because it would have risked damaging the premium kind of messaging that comes with a Naughty Dog or a Sony Santa Monica or an Insomniac.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot about that one. I forgot about Horizon, the Horizon multiplayer game, which that
Oh
feels like
yeah.
that should be a layup. Like it's going to be Monster Hunter like that feels like that should be an easy slam dunk. To be honest.
Yeah. Yeah. You think so, but I mean, I think at this point, man, I think anything live service, anything multiplayer, I think Sony are going to second guess it
Hmm.
constantly. I think it's going to be yeah, it's really going to be scrutinized and really crunched to the point of is this worth it, or is it going to be another another failure on the rap sheet. Yeah.
Yo, what was that? So your
That's
neck? Did you fart?
no.
Did you just fart live on the show?
No, it was my neck. It was my
You
neck.
giving your you giving your colon a chance to give its opinion on Concord. That's
Yeah,
nice.
that's what I think of it. Yeah.
And this is the other part, right? You know what? Xbox multiplayer service game launched to an open critic of 69.
Oh yeah, I think I know this one.
Uh,
Does it have a lot of water in it?
It's got a lot of water in it.
Nice.
We're
Skull and
talking
bones.
about Skull and Bones. Sea of Thieves, of course, launching in 2018, launched to a 69 open critic. Really, like looking on open critic, it's not that different from Concord. Concord is 65 with I think like 17 critics reviewed. No, 23 critics recommended, whereas Sea of Thieves had 36% critics recommended.
Mm-hmm.
Sea of Thieves has gone on to become not only Xbox's most successful new IP in the last, how long is that? Yeah, last like 6 or 7 years. It's gotten so popular that they've then ported it to PC and to PlayStation, and it's gone on to do really well on both of those.
Mm-hmm.
PlayStation doesn't seem to be interested in giving any of these service games a chance and then to grow them. Like, don't get me wrong, I hope we don't have another Sea of Thieves repeat where it launches, to that much criticism, because it's quite hard to pull that off.
Yeah.
But like Xbox seemed to be okay with,
taking the L.
launch it, and we trust that you guys will give you the resources to listen to the community and build the game up, because there's a couple of other examples that I'm struggling to think of right now. Halo Infinite not being one of them, where they have managed to do this. So yeah, we'll see. I wonder if they'll stick with it. But
different market. See if these were so unique.
I mean, maybe. Yeah, fair point. Fair point. Maybe.
There's nothing else like Sea of Thieves even out, and there still isn't. So, like, yeah, I don't know. I don't think so.
Right. Yeah. It's all fair stuff, but based on their decisions to this point, I would think no, they're not going to give it a chance to breathe. Like, I think they've gone into such a cadence of like release a game and it's a splash hit because it's a hyper realistic action adventure single player game. That's where the sales are front loaded. That they're going to be a bit scared by this. And also, the PlayStation audience isn't like accustomed to this. I don't know how much of a difference that like really makes, considering there's a lot of multiplayer third party games. But I think about how this would go down on Xbox if it launched into Game Pass day one. Probably help,
Yeah, for sure.
All right, that's Concord for you. Let's move on to the Monkey game, Tim. The Monkey game, like if I'm remembering right, like Myth Wukong has gotten to the second most like concurrent players of all time. Am I remembering that right? Is that the headlines that you've read?
Something like that. Yeah, I can't remember the exact wording they used. But yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's currently the second most played game in Steam history. Achieved a concurrent player count of over 2 million. That is a bit nuts.
Over 2 million people playing that game.
Yeah.
Fuck me, that's crazy.
And it really confuses me as well, because I've seen like a couple of people being like, man, if Black Myth Wukong doesn't make the Game Awards nomination this year, something's up. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like it seems quite good. It's like on 81. It's reviewed the same as Hellblade, but like I don't see why this is like is it just because a lot of people are playing it? Yeah, exactly. And like I guess it's a nice surprise. And what was I going to say? It seems to mostly be popular because it's of China. Like in China, it's doing like really well. and that's where most of the play count is coming from. Really, it demonstrates like how important like different regions are, other than Europe and the US, because
Yeah,
there are lots of
yeah,
gamers, especially in Asia, right?
yeah. No, definitely. But yeah, no, I don't think it really is a an absolute shoe in. I think a lot of people get wrapped up in the whole, yeah, like you said, the popularity of it, right? And the fact that it looks insane. Like it's like it's a real looker, right, in terms of
Mm,
its graphics and
for
stuff
sure.
like that. And I think that just hooks people. I think a lot of these casual gamers, that's all you need to do to hook them and get them in the comment section saying, this is game of the year. Like it doesn't necessarily, like, they don't see the flaws that the game might have because, quite clearly the game isn't perfect. 81 is a good score, don't get me wrong, but it's not pushing the nines. It's not pushing game of the year status, in terms of its popularity, maybe. Um, but yeah, I don't know.
So there's a really interesting second part to this story, which the news just broke in like the last half an hour, and we might even have to skip some future topics because of this one. Like it's,
Hmm.
I think it's really going to get us going. You may recall, everyone, that Black Myth Wukong was originally announced. I think it was either announced for no platforms or it was announced for all platforms. I can't remember. Can you remember, Tim? Chat, keep me honest. I can't remember.
I I don't remember it. I think it was announced on no platforms. I don't think it gave anything when it was announced, if my memory
Okay.
serves me correctly.
Yes. Okay. That's fine. So, because we have had that before. Stellar Blade, I'm pretty sure, if I'm remembering, was originally announced for all platforms, and then it was not. It was just PlayStation and PC.
Yeah.
I think it's fair to say that when a game is released and exclusivity isn't explicitly declared, we kind of
Hmm.
all just assume it's on all platforms.
Yes. Yeah.
Anyway, sometime between its initial reveal and then its kind of re-reveal at Summer Games Fest this year. It was then announced it was only coming to PC and PlayStation 5.
Yeah.
The devs then said, Xbox version isn't ready yet, and we all went a bit crazy. We all started saying, oh, another one is skipping Xbox. It's a fucking conspiracy, dude. It's a fucking
Yeah.
conspiracy, and we're right about it. We're not even wrong. We're totally justified to get our tinfoil hats on because you're gonna fucking believe
All
this.
right. Let's go.
About 45 minutes ago, Paul Tassi from Forbes, a very reliable insider, said, I don't have the tweet up in front of me, but it was something to the effect of, I've heard from a source who would know that Black Myth Wukong isn't on Xbox because of an exclusivity deal with PlayStation
Oh yeah,
right
I
now.
saw this. Yeah.
Okay, and I saw that and I thought, that's kind of wild. Like, I'll take it with a pinch of salt, whatever. I've just seen in the last 10 minutes, IGN have made their own independent report corroborating that is true.
Oh my god.
Um, and this is after the devs of Black Myth Wukong went to Gamescom and they said to everyone's face that they hadn't been able to pass a bug detection test and thus was delayed indefinitely. To go even a step further, you may remember at Summer Games Fest, when this was becoming a bit of a heated issue, people reached out to Xbox to say, what's going on, guys? How come games are skipping your platform? Because we had some other ones, like nothing as high profile as this. There was the big Baldur's Gate 3 thing, fine, maybe we can count that as an anomaly, maybe not, whatever. But there was some smaller stuff like Monster Hunter Stories, there's some Capcom ones like Marvel versus Capcom, things like that. And then this kind of felt like a one that tipped some people over the edge.
Mm.
And in response, Xbox said, we can't comment on deals that developers make with platform holders. And this made people go a bit crazy too. Like, why the fuck you lying? Why are you saying there's an exclusivity deal here when there's not? I think we even spoke about this at the time, when they were whistleblowing, they were telling us PlayStation has a deal with them, guys.
Yeah.
we should have listened. Like, dude, we should have listened. You don't often get IGN corroborating reports like this unless they have something really, really concrete. So it's fair to say that this is true. What the fuck? What the, what the fuck? It's a conspiracy, dude. Xbox is putting games on PlayStation. PlayStation are taking that money and then locking games off the Xbox. Like, increasingly, it
Yeah.
makes me pretty angry that this is the direction we're going. Like, all I can say is I hope it all works out, because it's really fucked up that PlayStation are not letting up on this
Yeah.
predatory kind of. They're just trying to squeeze Xbox out of the market. Like,
Yeah.
that's the plan. They saw this happen with the games and they did not think, okay, let's innovate and evolve together. They're thinking, we're going to squeeze you out of the market and we're going to capture your audience.
Yeah. It needs to be, it needs to be put in a spotlight and like gaslit a little bit. It needs to be brought to your attention, because it's just pretty toxic behavior, isn't it? Because like you said, they're literally just refusing to play nice, even though it could technically just benefit them and all consumers. Like, because if they start bringing games to Xbox, it's just gonna get them more money. So why take this route? I don't know. This route is, one, it's a lot more hostile. Two, it's weirdly a lot more risky as well for them to do, because not one is one is obviously just going to hurt your overall reputation and just how you're approaching the gaming industry, and two, it's just, yeah, like you said, taking that money to try and lock someone out is not always guaranteed to succeed, where you are guaranteed to make money if you were to just share your games like Xbox are doing, for example. Um, really weird, really
But
weird, man.
remember as well, Black Myth Wukong, it obviously isn't a first party game. Like, it's made by
Yeah, yeah,
Game
yeah,
Science.
yeah,
So they've
yeah,
gone to them and just said, can we give you a lump sum to stop making the Xbox version?
yeah. And at
You
what
know,
point do you think this was done as well? Think it was done quite early, or do you think this was done relatively recently, in like
well, it must
the
have
last few
happened.
months, four or
I,
five
I, I
months?
reckon it was recently. Well, I think this is really interesting. This must have been recently. I bet they started, like, 2022, 3, and 4 started to take shape for them in terms of, their um, game pipeline. And they started thinking, we actually don't have that much for 2023, and we have fucking nothing for 2024, in terms of the first party output, which used to be really important. But now I'm noticing that people are saying it's actually not that important anymore. Um, so they saw that happening, and then they saw how Concord development was going, how the internal mock reviews were going, the response to the reveal trailer was going, and they said, Black Myth is coming out 1 week later. It's going to be really popular in one of our best performing regions in China.
Yeah,
Um, and it's going to help fill a hole in our, you know, publishing output, in our first party output.
yeah,
Let's lock it up. Take the W, take attention off Concord. Um, yeah. And like, I feel like I think this is one of the things that we have of the level-headed people in the Xbox community are generally pretty like fair on this, I think. And a lot of the mainstream media treats us like we're like psychotic, like we're losing our minds. PlayStation has always been very predatory,
yeah,
and
yeah,
I'm going to be very interested to see how this is reviewed, because a lot of people have always jumped to the defense of this. It's just smart business, Tim. It's just smart business, dude.
yeah,
You do what you got to do. But acquiring studios, that's monopolies, dude. Monopolies.
yeah.
No
Not allowed.
fucking wonder Xbox is acquiring everything. It's the only way that they can create like a moat of content that's safe
Yeah.
when this happens.
Yeah, because who knows when the next rug is just going to get pulled from under them, right?
Exactly.
And they just get money hatted because, and I mean, it's just, I don't know, man. It's really, it just doesn't sit well with me as well, because it's not even giving your audience a clear picture of, this is definitely just PlayStation. It's like, because it's still like, this is coming to Xbox, just no one knows when. But then now this has come out that obviously they pay to keep it off Xbox and basically just stop making the fucking Xbox version. So it creates this horrible, like, weird state for like just like users as well and consumers where they just don't know what the fuck's going on. At least like you said, when you buy studios and stuff like that, it's very clear what's happening here. This is going to be an Xbox exclusive, or at least recently, I think everyone could just be like, this will probably release on all platforms because Xbox is just the nice guy for whatever reason, and nice guys finish last. Yeah, it just doesn't sit well with me, man, because at some point I thought, oh, I'll play Black Myth Wukong. Can't be that far off for Xbox. They're just ironing out some kinks. But now I'm thinking, fuck me, like it's probably going to be ages until this comes out. Like, and that's like a rug pulled under me as a consumer as well as Xbox. Like, sucks, man.
Definitely. Definitely. And I think, it's so scummy on so many levels. Because the thing is, the worst part of it is that I think this is actually just going to, out of everyone, it's actually just going to enrage the Xbox audience even more, against Xbox, you know, because it's going to be
Yeah.
like, why the fuck are we giving so much content away and devaluing the platform I play on just to have games skip this platform as
Yeah.
well? Like it's not fair. Like this doesn't seem like a good deal for me.
Yeah.
Um, and also the fact that the devs came out and were just like lying to everyone's face that calling it an optimization
Exactly.
issue
Yeah.
either means they know the press is going to be bad and they just happily took the bag, under the table, or written into that, Sony have said, by the way, guys, don't bring it up.
Yeah.
Because we know this is going to be popular. And it's like, man, this is a bit slimy, I
Well, I mean,
think.
surely there's something illegal like about that. Like that's not like they that can't be completely legal, and especially if actual stuff starts to leak about this, if genuine deals going on and genuine communication saying yes, like stop making the Xbox version, say like you're just having some optimization issues, or there's gotta be like illegal in some way. Like that shit can't slide. It's not right. They're just lying.
Well, I mean, yeah, and Xbox said this repeatedly in court, and it's not like Xbox is a mega corporation too. It's not like they're squeaky clean with this shit either.
Oh yeah.
Um, but like I would challenge anyone to try and tell me that Xbox are as predatory as PlayStation are. And it just isn't the case. Ever since I can't really speak from before the PS4 gen, but ever since the PS4 gen, when they got the lead that they got, they have just tried to stomp Xbox out of the console business. Foot on neck, just really just try to get rid of them so that they can have pure control over the high-end console business.
Yeah.
And which is part of the reason why the Xbox community gets so infuriated by how protective the media appears to be of PlayStation as a brand, where it's like you're razor, like we're actually at the point now where we're like, it's a thin line where you could have PlayStation as the high end console monopoly. You don't want that. Like,
Yeah.
depending on what Xbox does with their next console, how that's executed now, of course that might not be the
Yeah.
case and things might go to plan. You know what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's not good. Yeah, competition only benefits the consumer, right? We've been over this. So I don't know why people are letting it slide, and they shouldn't let it slide. And I hope this sort of thing does get blown up and does get put in the spotlight. Because I think it's another classic case of kind of Xbox trying to pave the way with new ideas and kind of getting punished for it as well. Like, because there's nothing wrong with what Xbox are doing. Like you brought up the point, people are getting increasingly annoyed that we just keep giving away stuff to then just have stuff taken from us. But like that's not obviously not what Xbox intended, right? They're trying to install like a new way to do gaming in the future, and this is how it should be. And just they're just not playing ball, like you said. They're just refusing to acknowledge that healthy competition is beneficial for companies, and they're just trying to stamp you out. So yeah, I don't know.
I mean, this is also the reason why Xbox won the ABK acquisition. You know, that was obviously a big deal, and we've gone back and forth on the pros and cons of that. You know, the studio closures earlier in the year were so shite
Yeah.
and are a really unfortunate downside of all that. But the reason regulators passed it is because they saw, you know, the power differential here, and you know, it's why PlayStation, like their lawyers, kept going back to this. Oh, what if they make stuff exclusive? You know, because it was all they had. This is also coming off the back of Indiana Jones being announced as the last thing to come to PS5
Oh
3 or 4
God.
months later, right? So it just gets worse and worse.
That made me
And then, of
roll my
course,
eyes when I watched that live,
yeah.
dude. Like genuinely, like, I was watching it today, and I was like, "For fuck's sake!" I was like, I was kind of expecting it, but that quick, that fucking sucks. Anyway,
Yeah.
carry on.
And then we've also got the stuff going on with Square Enix where supposedly more games are coming to Xbox after they've realized, hang on a minute, these exclusivity deals fucking suck for us, you know. So it's just really just culminating, and I just don't know what the next step forward is.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I do think it, because I mean, who are the developers of Black Myth Wukong? Isn't this like their first game or something?
They're called Game Science. I think they have done some other stuff, but I think just like mobile games.
Yeah, so it's like their first like AAA like game, right? And they're going for it. So
Yes.
a deal like this is very appealing to them, right? But then obviously, yeah, you brought up the point that Square Enix are thinking this exclusivity thing fucking sucks, and we're going to start to branch out because it's just not worth it, right? But I think that, you know, PlayStation kind of took advantage of the fact that they're like, we know this game's going to slap, and in the markets that, you know, we excel in anyway, this is your first AAA game, guys. You know, take the money under the bag, you know, take the money under the table, sorry, and let's just make a deal here, right? And that seems very appealing to them. But I don't know, maybe this sort of thing is only appealing to developers now, you know, in that sense, right? Not more established. Um, like, you know, you won't be able to do anything like that with like fucking Capcom or something like that. They'll just be like, no, not happening. Square Enix, no, not happening. But developer that who did Black Myth Wukong probably thinking, yeah, it's not a bad idea.
Yeah, you know, I can definitely understand um the motive, and PlayStation does this, you know, strategically, and I think it's just a problem of, you know, we all understand why Xbox is going in the direction it is going, you know, because they're just not making ground with the Xbox console. You know, even if they, as we've spoken about before, even if they started making a lot of these games have longer timed exclusivity periods or full exclusive,
Mm.
how many people are really going to sell their PlayStation to then buy an Xbox? How many people are going to do that? Or next gen, how many people are going to not buy the PS6 knowing that they then give up their entire PlayStation digital library to then switch to an Xbox? Like maybe you capture 5-10%, but the rest are just going to stick with PlayStation no matter if you do put out Fable, which is a 90 plus game, and Forza Horizon 6, which is another 90 plus game, and the next Halo, which is another 90 plus game. Especially with the games already on PC, right? It's just not happening. Like it's just not the way the market's going, but it's just so frustrating, I think, for people who are primarily Xbox console players to see games get given away for Sony to take that money and then use that money to keep games off
Yeah,
Xbox. You know, I think
yeah.
that's the real problem. Is it's causing a lot of community damage.
Hmm. Yeah. No, I completely agree.
I doubt this changes really anything, but you know, there's obviously, I think Indiana Jones was a big one. The next like momentous thing that they're probably making probably is Fable, and then Blade not long after that. You know, there'll be bigger things like Elder Scrolls down the road as well. Doom was a big one, but that's going multi-plat day one, you know.
Hmm.
So, you know, as I've said a few times, it really all depends what they're shaping up for with next gen. And if that really is going to be a PC hybrid sort of thing, it's the only way I can see any of this making sense or working out or crescending into something which makes sense because the device that they make allows you to play everything anyway. It's just a consumer-friendly PC at a consumer-friendly price point, which sits under your TV. Like, I think that makes sense for all of this, but they haven't announced that, so that isn't clear to the current community.
Yeah. I mean that's the only direction where this all makes sense. And yeah, you've kind of got to be thinking about laying out that roadmap and making your audience aware of that at this point, because otherwise, I mean, people are just they're going to start to lose faith, and they're just not going to be interested in that home console market anymore, and they might just move to PC or something like that. So you got to catch these people before they start thinking the worst and thinking it's over and stuff like that, which it sounds like an exaggeration, but we've seen it already happen. So what was it earlier this year, where the entire internet just caught fire and people were just like, I don't want to lose my digital libraries. I spent so, like, it has happened. Like, it's explosive. The community has shown that it's explosive. So you just got to make these announcements at some point. I think playing your cards too close to your chest sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose it probably is a really big technological undertaking. Sarah Bond said as much right on the podcast earlier in the year, where she said it's going to be the biggest technological leap that we've ever done. We're not entirely sure. We're not entirely sure what that means, but I think her wording was quite choice there. She didn't say the most powerful Xbox; she said the biggest tech leap. So maybe the details aren't ironed out yet. Who knows? But for sure, it's just pissing the Xbox community off. And as well, something that it's just occurred to me is that, I mean, it's become a joke in the community at this point that the Xbox Series S is like blamed for everything. My wife left me. Xbox Series S again. Concord failed. These are 6 reasons why the Series S caused Concord to fail. A thread. There's an endless litany of jokes. But the Series S caught flack here as well for Black Myth Wukong, and I'm sure we can all agree that there are pros and cons to having a Series S. But it's become this scapegoat, and again, it's you're all making me lose my fucking mind here. This doesn't seem right. Oh wait, it's actually an exclusivity deal. It's not because of the Series S.
No. Yeah. It makes you think, is it worth digging back at some other things as well that were blamed for the Series S? Yeah.
Sus.
Yeah. Then Baldur's Gate 3 have a similar thing? Just saying.
Just asking questions. I'm just asking questions.
Not accusing, just throwing the question out there.
All right. Yeah, I knew that was going to be a big one. So I'll tell you what, Tim, I say let's not bother with Expedition 33. There will be time for that in a later video. Let's not bother with COD and zombies either for today.
Yeah. Well, leave on a note that Expedition 33 looks fucking cool, though.
It does.
And I'm excited. I'm excited to talk about that next week because it looks great.
Definitely.
But yeah, I'm happy with that.
Yeah, it did. While we're talking about PlayStation, let's just come around to Story 2 then, as a bit more of a concordant segue.
Nice, man.
Thank you.
Is concordant a word? Is it?
Concordant's a word. Yeah, I've definitely wrote that in an essay before. Let me check.
Concordant. I've never. Heard
concordant means agreeing or harmonious. There we go.
Well, there you go.
I knew my 90k student debt would pay off one day. It's really coming together for me.
I can't believe you're actually able to say that out loud. It's not like it's saying Voldemort to you, that number.
Yeah, Tim, I've been paying off that student debt for 10 years now. How much do you think I have paid off of that 90k?
I would imagine, I don't know, maybe 5k.
It's gone up by $7,000, Tim. The interest is so high.
Oh wow!
You
haven't even made a dent. You're in the negatives.
Losing money.
You're in the I have paid back negative 15%.
What a fucking scam that shit was. Unbelievable.
Yeah, but then it just wipes after a certain time, so you're fine. You're golden.
I mean, yeah, that's sick. Yeah. When I'm 55, I'll finally be debt free.
Yeah.
Okay, so the PS5 Pro is supposedly getting revealed in September. This is coming from D Labs. Deal Labs? D Labs?
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's been implied by a couple of sources now, and supposedly it was a bit of an open secret at Gamescom. And we've also got kind of a mock-up of what it's looking like, which kind of looks like Wolverine is like slashed through it. Do you see what I'm talking about?
Yeah. I can see like a
Looks
little
like-
mini Wolverine. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. By the way, that's pretty fun, isn't it? That Wolverine's about to come to PlayStation 5, probably next year or maybe 2 years, and that's going to be fully exclusive. No fucks
Oh yeah,
given.
yeah. Absolutely zero fucks given, dude. Yeah.
And probably when this gets revealed, it'll probably be a state of play where they probably talk about a Spider-Man DLC. Oh yeah, Spider-Man, one of the biggest fucking IPs in history.
Mm-hmm.
That's fully exclusive. Thanks.
Yeah, man. Feels good.
Yeah, it feels great. Feels great. So, PlayStation 5 Pro. Similar design to the PS5 Slim, slightly thicker. I don't know how that's possible. Using the same faceplates. Digital version for sure. May or may not have a disk drive version, and yeah, expect announcement in the first half of September. Tim, what's the temperature on a pro version of the consoles at the moment? This was a big talking point a couple of years back when we first started hearing leaks about it, because Phil Spencer said, nah, we're not doing that. And PlayStation are very much doing that. So what's the temperature on this sort of mid-gen upgrade? And bear in mind, this is probably going to be really expensive. I think I saw somewhere that the speculated price range is between $599 and $699.
Oh my god.
Oh yeah.
$700. Fuck me.
Oh yeah, baby.
I think it's completely unnecessary. I don't see the point in these. In all honesty, I don't even see the point in the fucking slim versions they do and all that kind of shit either. Like I just think that
Well,
when it
PlayStation needed it.
yeah, that
Slim
is
version.
true. Yeah, in that regard, fine. Yeah, because they made such a ridiculous console. I just don't see it because I just feel like even when like the PlayStation 5 is like sold really fucking well, like hardware still kind of comes in at a loss. Like I feel like it never really does that well, does it? Like, so why?
No, it's a loss leader, yeah, for sure. I
Yes.
guess because they've already got most of the stuff manufactured, if it's going to use similar, like they're going to save costs on just using a lot of similar components, and then a couple of things they're going to swap out, which will cost a bit more, put it at a higher price point, and I guess maybe that's less like profit averse than just releasing the first console in a gen is. I assume that, I mean, there must be some sort of money making strategy here.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I I don't feel like this is something that needs to be done. I don't feel like seeing this come out makes me think, oh man, I wish Xbox did something like this. Like I don't know, man. It just doesn't do anything for me. I think at this point we're probably not that far off just the next gen just being announced anyway and sort of speculated, and I don't know. It just seems like this weird stopgap where it just doesn't seem necessary, especially in this like economic climate. Like I would never fork out to get an Xbox Series X Pro. Like if that came out, I just wouldn't bother. But yeah, I'm only speaking personally. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of not. I mean, I suppose the way it's all shaken out is that both Xbox and PlayStation overpromised, I think, with these consoles.
Yeah.
They're great. They're great little consoles. It's allowed us to get, some really good stuff out the door now. But we're not getting 4K 60 on games, and that's mostly developer choice. Like, I don't know really. Like, the only way that really happens, from my understanding, is when it is something like PC, where people can manually, decide what's going to what.
Mm-hmm.
where you can get higher frame rates and higher resolutions. Because if you're releasing consoles with a fixed amount of stuff in them with like no ability to upgrade or whatever, and devs are optimizing for that, then at some point they're going to make the creative decision of like, right, are we prioritizing frame rate? Are we prioritizing resolution? Or are we prioritizing both? And if we're prioritizing both, is there a compromise? Like, do we have to run at 1440p, for example, or whatever?
Yeah.
These consoles haven't quite got there. Ray tracing hasn't really become a thing because it's like that was like a big thing, at the beginning of the gen, and it's because it's so resource intensive that most devs like aren't really fully utilizing it. And the devs that have done, like it does look amazing. Like Cyberpunk these days, it looks great, but like the ray tracing mode is at 30. With that all said, I think because of that, there probably will be a small hardcore market that will go for this. But I mean, it's going to launch just before 2025. When's their next console coming out?
Exactly.
2028, probably. Maybe sooner. At this point, just
I'd say sooner.
Wind up for the next console. It's just and like how many devs are really going to fully optimize for this? I guess it'll give them bragging rights. I guess that's the point. Really, it'll give them bragging rights for the next few years. They can say, this is the most powerful console ever made, and Digital Foundry will make these videos and say, wow, the PlayStation 5 Pro is outperforming the Xbox Series X and the Xbox Series S, and everybody will go, wow, this is the best thing ever, even though
it's also
like
$700.
6,000 people have done it. Yeah, it's all $700. Yeah, man, it's whatever. It's whatever. I definitely craved this more last gen, and I don't think that's just because I was like more responsibility free in I think it was 2017 when the One X came out. It's just because back then those consoles, like the Xbox One was underpowered, like we all knew that. And then the One X was like, this is 4K.
Yeah.
And that was really exciting, like, because that came with a TV purchase as well, right? It was like kind of the next big thing forward. And it has been. That was right. Like, I get 4K on all of my TVs now. So that kind of made sense. There's no other technology that's coming alongside a PS5 Pro or a hypothetical Xbox X Pro that would make this like the next thing. It's just going to be like your games are going to run better.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Probably.
Yeah. And like you said, how many people are actually going to overclock and actually optimize for this as well. And with the time frame with the next gen of consoles, I don't know, man. I just don't think it's worth it. I mean, like you said, unless they're doing something very, very smart with the parts, and that they're not actually making that much of a loss on making these, and maybe they can recoup that with the hardcore audience. I still don't see that being a thing. I think it's the sort of thing that's going to just make a loss and just doesn't seem very necessary, if I'm honest. But
agreed.
Especially
because like these both consoles, but especially the PlayStation 5 is going up in price. It's getting more expensive as the gen goes on. Like they just announced another price increase in Japan.
Damn.
Like it's just, I guess it's just a sign of the times, with like you said, the economic climate and maybe the superconductor shortage as well.
Yeah.
And also how the traditional console market is changing, and how like Xbox is doing what it's doing with multi-plat, and even PlayStation is looking to PC to get extra profit, and they are chasing service to get extra profit. Like they need to find extra profit in different places, so maybe that's just reflective of that as well. Let's put out a more expensive thing that might be able to assist in some way.
Potentially. Plus, something's got to run Astrobot.
It's so true, and I don't know if the normal PS5 can run such a high caliber of Game of the Year.
I heard there's a feature where you can just pick up the PS5 Pro, shake it around, and you can feel them inside it.
That's incredible. The console has haptic feedback.
Yeah.
Amazing.
That is truly next gen.
Or maybe it's not going to be called the PS5 Pro at all. Maybe it's going to be called the PS5 Astrobot, and there's going to be little tiny guys in there that dive out.
They do your bidding. They just do your housework.
They do your bidding.
Do your cooking.
Man, I could really get on board with that.
Yeah,
that'd be great.
Seriously. If I could get little guys to help me around the house, yeah, I'd pay a lot of money for that.
Just little guys. If you're listening, PlayStation, you're welcome. Do a last minute pivot into that. Just
Yeah.
get that sorted in the
Write that
next
down.
month.
Write that down.
Okay, great. We'll come on to kind of our final part for the day then, which is sort of talking about Xbox's presence at Gamescom, with the main focus being on Indiana Jones, Avowed, and Towerborne, and also their most recent release, which was Age of Mythology. So we'll just start with Age of Mythology, and then we'll sort of backtrack into Gamescom and wind the show down from there, Tim. So Age of Mythology came out this week. Age of Mythology Retold.
Did it?
It's a remake of like, oh yeah,
So it
it's a
came out
remake
next
of like
week.
20-year-old game. Nope.
Oh.
Oh, no, you're right. Sorry. What I meant is reviews came out this week. It comes
Ah.
out next week.
Oh, okay. I thought it was going insane because I was like, I want to play that. I was like, why haven't we played
Yeah.
that? Okay. Yeah.
I think the original Age of Mythology came out in 2002. And for those that don't know, it's like a slightly more arcadey version. It's a lot more arcadey version of Age of Empires. You play as gods from all sorts of different pantheons, and you level up your gods, and they give you different powers and all sorts of cool stuff. Okay, it's come out to a really strong 83, Tim. It's another feather in the cap of an Xbox first party game getting 80 plus. I've been saying this for a while now. This has kind of been Xbox's thing. They've hit a certain level of quality control now where most of their games are coming out 8s or above, which is great. Just wonderful. So really positive overall. Any thoughts? I don't have like a much to add here other than it looks like another successful hit for Xbox, and I'm excited to give this a go when it comes out.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. It's been on our radar for a while. I'm really happy it's done well. I'm really happy something that has been remade from way back when. It's still got appeal now. I think it's very novel and yeah, man. Is it just me or Xbox kind of seeing a little bit of an untapped market in like RTS recently as well? Like they're loving the RTS at the moment, and it's proving quite beneficial for them, I think.
It's really funny you said that. Like I can't remember what subreddit I was on. It was on, I don't know if it was just the general games one or if it popped up on my feed, like maybe the RTS subreddit. But I saw someone say like Xbox is doing really well. It was like a thread and it had like thousands of upvotes. And it was like, Xbox is doing really well with their real-time strategy push. They're all on Game Pass. And also like, I'm going to get a Series S because they're doing a good job with the console ports too. Like I'm seeing like a lot of this positive sentiment. This is one of those areas where they've identified like they want to make a strategic push for that genre, and they're doing really well. I'm totally with you.
A strategic push. I like what you did there. Strategic for RTS. Yeah.
Yeah.
The
old real-time strategic push.
Yeah, that's what he calls it. It's the RTS project.
Yeah.
I completely agree. Yeah, I think it's I've just kind of noticed it. I feel like RTS was a bit of like it's kind of like a PC only thing, and it was still kind of like niche and like you had your games that did it. They didn't release very often, but you had them come out every now and again on PC. But now, they're definitely making a push for it. They're porting them well. They've chucked them into the subscription, like you said, into Games Pass, and I think it's probably pulling over, a fair few people that are fans of that genre, and even people that want to dip their toes in it briefly, like us. We're not really RTS people, but like we're both gonna get, Age of Mythology on download and give it a go next week. So,
yeah. I think it's probably one of those genres that's really benefited by Game Pass.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
That's the thing. Yeah. So I think it really benefits on console and PC, and probably more PC, but still, I think it's who has been doing this? I think Virtuous Games helped out with the port, but it's Relic Entertainment, I think, who are doing all of the Age of Empires stuff. They really figured out the controller setup, to make it accessible on console. But it's definitely one of those genres that's like Game Pass is great for. So I'm not sure if I'm going to like this. It's strategy. It's a bit niche, but I remember when Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition came out, Phil Spencer made a can't remember what interview he was saying it in, but he specifically said it's done really well. Oh, it came out around the same time as Hi-Fi Rush, I think, early 2023.
Okay.
And he was like, Age of Empires 2 is outperforming all the games we like at the moment. Like it's outperforming the games we've released in the last few months, which I think was Forza Motorsport and Hi-Fi Rush. Might have been
Wow.
something else, can't remember. So clearly, there is an appetite for these sorts of games, and they've also got Ara History Untold as well coming out later in the year, which is the PC first to begin with, which is whatever eye roll. But yeah, you're definitely right. This is definitely
Yeah.
correct observation. I would agree.
Love to see it.
Love to see it. Cool. So then rolling into Gamescom for kind of the final story of the day. I suppose just a quick opportunity before we get into those three headline games. Was there anything else that you wanted to touch on that showed up at opening night live or from previews during Gamescom? Anything else that you wanted to give a shout out to or run through?
I don't think so. I mean, the Borderlands 4 announcement was cool, but
Hmm.
that's not exactly Xbox aligned. But
Yeah,
yeah,
so
that was cool. That's only worth mentioning.
Monster Hunter Wilds was
Monster Hunter
looking pulled up.
Wilds looks like it's going to sap my life away. It looks
Mm.
ridiculous. I watched like a 30-minute video of someone literally just like hunting the monster because they got to play the demo. You know, that bear looking like woolly mammoth thing. Yeah. Oh, dude, it just looks so fucking good. Like, oh, I'm so excited. And I think I might embrace. I've been very weeby too recently, more weeby than usual.
What do you mean recently?
No, I've dialed it up.
Oh
I
no.
think I might be entering my dual blade era there. I'm sorry. Like, I
You're
hope
what?
dual blade.
Oh, for God's sake.
I hope they've taken away the little ankle snicks that you could do that always tripped you up.
At least it's not longsword.
That's true. Yeah, no, I'm not that bad, but
Scumbags.
yeah, it looks great. I'm buzzed.
Good. Yeah, it's really funny actually having a look through the Dragon's Dogma subreddit. There's like so many posts of like, that guy who's like the meme where it's like the four squares and he's like looking at his computer and then the last frame he's like just got his hands, his head in his hands and he's crying. And it's that and them saying me looking at Monster Hunter Wild, seeing where Capcom's budget went for their next action
Oh
game.
yeah, dude. Yeah, they have injected like as much funds as they could have possibly done has been injected into Wilds. I'm sure. Like,
Yeah, no doubt. So, great. So, with that in mind, then let's move on to some of the Xbox stuff. Tim, we've got Indiana Jones, we've got Avowed, we've got Towerborne. Where would you like to start?
uh, Avowed. Start with Avowed.
Okay, great. What are your thoughts? What about Avowed?
I
He's
think it looks
clapping
really
for the
good.
audio listeners. It didn't get picked
Yeah.
up on the mic, but he is clapping.
Oh really?
His
God, my
cheeks.
mic is fantastic at that. Like, God, when the
It's just
text's
noise
just too
cancellation,
good.
yeah.
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 Yeah. No. I think it looks really good. I think that game. Every time that game shows up, and every time they show new gameplay for that, I think it's just making the game look better and better. And I think like people are getting more excited for it as well. Like I'm genuinely seeing like kind of like a buzz around the internet for it now for like the first time in like ever. Like especially with like the really positive previews that have come out about it. You know, I've watched all the videos on that. And yeah, man, I just think the game's really shaping up. And I think, they could have released it this year and I think they would have still had a banger on their hands, but I think they're probably very happy with how this game is looking and they didn't want to just completely, you know, screw over its sales. So, yeah, no, every time I see Avowed, I get more and more excited. Yeah, color me impressed.
What in particular did you like the look of, or did you like people talking about?
I liked just seeing a little bit more of just how the world's coming together, like as well. Like I really love the environments in that game. Like just the landscapes, the quest design looks cool. It looks like kind of old school, um with like and I love that. Like I feel like it's kind of throwing you back to like Oblivion days with like a new twist on it and stuff like that. And yeah, when I see all like the dialogue options, I think they look great. I think the voice acting actually is pretty damn good. Like
Mm.
as much as I'm thinking lip sync could be better, facial animations could be better, I do think the voice acting is actually pretty top notch as well. So
Mm.
I think yeah, that's what I'm just excited to get into like the Pillars of Eternity world. Um
Same.
like genuinely I've never really experienced it, and it just looks so colorful and cool, and just yeah, something I haven't really ever delved into, and I just think they're doing a really good job at making me excited to get into that world.
Mm.
Yeah, I'd say that's what's impressing me the most whenever I see this game, and what's been shown recently as well.
Yeah, you can definitely like the more we're seeing, like they should have just the thing is, like what you described there isn't really any of the stuff that a lot of people have looked at and said, oh, this has him improved a lot, since I first saw it. A lot of the stuff that you're describing there is just the Obsidian stuff. And they could
Mm,
have really gotten, I think, people on board a lot sooner by just showing something like this earlier, like doing like an early preview on a vertical slice, because all of the
mm,
previews got to play through like a section of the game that was like maybe half an hour long. And they were allowed to play through it 3 times with like a different class. It's a classless game, but but it was like a pre-built
yeah,
class.
yeah,
Um, just to let them see the choice and consequence and how things can go differently depending on the options you make. And yeah, it does a really good job of outlining like the world, the Pillars of Eternity universe, which I agree people speak of so fondly. And even I played about an hour of Pillars of Eternity remastered. Um, I found it really hard to get into because it's a classic, really classic RPG, really classic.
mm,
Um, but immediately I was like really interested in like the dark fantasy of the world and the mythology of it and everything, like for those that don't know, like one of the central premises of the Pillars of Eternity universe is that there are these like and like if anybody is a Pillars of Eternity fan, I'm so sorry. I read a Wikipedia a few times, so I'm just gonna do my best here. Is that there are these pillars in the game that absorb your soul when you die.
mm,
And that your soul is then like manufactured and given new life when new beings are born. It's reincarnation. Like reincarnation is canon in this game,
mm,
and that process is called the wheel. The souls go into the wheel and they're churned out. And in the Pillars of Eternity games, you play as I can't remember the name. Like there's like a type of person that you are. You're like a mystic, and you can talk to the soul in the body of the person you're speaking to. So you can not just speak to that person, but you can speak to the soul that's been through these different types of
yeah, yeah,
reincarnations. So it gives you a sense of how and gods play like a massive role in this game, similar to like Elder Scrolls. They're gods of different things, and they have different interests and
yeah,
opposing motives. So you can kind of get a sense from what I've just said there of how that could create a really rich fictional world. And it made me like want to start Pillars of Eternity again, like to just try and get back into it, just to like experience more of the world, despite struggling that first time. Because I'm like totally with you. Like I'm seeing it more, and I'm like, this is very interesting. Like I'm interested in this. This seems to be like occupying a nice fantasy niche that isn't
yeah,
Elder Scrolls, and it isn't like classical D&D. It's like its kind of own thing. It really, you get that sense.
yeah, yeah, for
Um,
sure. Yeah, yeah,
but instead, all of the earlier trailers just focused on the combat and making it look like a high action first person game, which it clearly
yeah,
isn't. There is definitely a lot of action there, which has definitely improved, which I was really glad to see. But what you're describing there is just the good Obsidian stuff, which they're clearly, I think, excelling at based on these previews.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think it's just that classic, just let them cook sort of scenario, and yeah, I'm pretty buzzed. And yeah, every time I see it, I want to play it more. So
Definitely. And it's been nice to see like preview after preview after preview just be like really positive.
IGN liked it, dude. Like
Said it was
what?
fantastic. Yeah. Yeah, it's just crazy. Even Kotaku liked it as well.
Fucking hell.
Something
Never
must be up.
happens.
Something must be up. But it is worth quickly touching on as well that I do feel like the combat has seen lots of improvements. Like it really seems like the team took that to heart and made a lot of improvements. It looks really fun, man. Like I think it looks really fast and fluid and snappy. I saw some people saying that some of the sounds, like some of them felt a bit off, and the melee as opposed to the range didn't feel quite as good, but maybe it was just the build that they were given. But I thought it all looked really fun. Like if anybody's played Grounded, the melee combat in that is really fun, and I suspect will feel like that, but ramped up, with RPG elements stacked on top. So yeah, I'm with you, dude. Every time I see it, I think this looks better and better. And actually, I'm starting to think, this could really come in as a
High
I'm feeling
80s.
quite confident this could come in as an 80s game, somewhere in the 80s, mid 80s to high 80s. Yeah.
I'm thinking high 80s with how it's shaping up and how the previews are going. I can see the wacky input 86. Yeah. Yeah, I'd like to say above 85 at this point. 85 or above is my gut
Yeah.
feeling right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think we are probably being hopeful with that, but because I still think some people are flinching at the idea of it like being anything other than like a hyper realistic, quintuple A. Like there are some areas where it's clearly in the AAA space. There are some areas where it doesn't feel like that, but that's always been Obsidian's thing. They make double A's that are punching above their weight, and Avowed still feels like that. And that's not a problem for most people, but I think some people are going to be like, "Oh, I wish it was more like Skyrim."
Go play Skyrim. Jesus.
Yeah, like so, but nonetheless, looking good. Really happy to see the positive previews because I think we're all rooting for Obsidian, really.
Oh yeah, always, always.
I'll pull us round to Towerborne next. I watched some gameplay for this, read a couple of previews, and that's sounding really positive as well, Tim. It's obviously the only wrinkle to all this news is that we got that it was coming to Steam Early Access on September 10th. And this is from their website with Xbox game preview following, and then a full free-to-play launch planned for 2025. So it sounds like we are still getting the Xbox game preview version this year, but the full launch is going to be next year. But it looks really, really interesting, man. I think it looks good. And again, lots of positive previews here. Did you have any thoughts about anything that you've seen or heard from Towerborn?
Yeah, I didn't actually catch too much of this because, I mean, I watched the whole show, but like, this must have happened like before or after, like a lot of the meaty gameplay sections and diving a bit
Yeah, it
deeper
was it was
into
just
it.
on the show floor. It was just on the show floor, so people just playing it and then
Yeah.
up recording footage and stuff. Yeah.
But yeah, no, yeah, from what I've seen, yeah, I think it's shaping up to look really, really good, man. Yeah, kind of what I expected it to sort of look like, really. I don't think it didn't blow me away in terms of how much it's changed or developed since I last saw it, but it's just good to see more of it, and know that it exists. Yeah, no, I'm very excited for this one, I have to admit. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. My only hesitance is that it's if it comes out too close to Monster Hunter, like that's a fuck up. Like it's great that we get to play it this year in game preview. But listening to them talk about the game more, it seems like the elevator pitch is Castle Crashers mixed with Monster Hunter. Like they've spoken about the loop where you go out, kill stuff, get their stuff to get better weapons to kill more stuff, and that is the Monster Hunter loop, and it's a great loop. But and it's going to be a service game too. But I'm not going to want to juggle that with Monster Hunter when that comes out.
No.
That's just me. Maybe this will speak to a different audience than what Monster Hunter does. Like, I think there probably is the case for that. But for me personally, that won't be the case. And so it'd be a real bummer if their launch windows, overlapped. So that's my only hope that this has ample breathing room because I think it looks really good and it looks really fun.
Yeah, I agree. yeah, just the overlap there could be quite concerning, and yeah, could really hurt the game, I think. Because let's be real, anyone who's going to be playing that type of game is going to be prioritizing Monster Hunter Wilds over that. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, hopefully that doesn't happen. Hopefully they're a little bit smart with how they do their release date, because I think they haven't. I don't think they've got an absolute blockbuster on their hands, but I think they've got like a like a really fun experience here that I think they like a lot of people could enjoy. Dropping, into Games Pass, reviewing highly, and yeah, I think they could have a good hit on their hands. They just got to be careful. And they don't have a good track record with the release dates, so I don't know. We'll see, but
Yeah, we'll see. Okay, on to the last thing then. In terms of Xbox, Indiana Jones. We've already, of course, spoken about that. It got a one more thing stealthy announcement for PlayStation 5 coming in spring, uh, before the games even come out, which is like bizarre for so many reasons. Maybe it's, as we've mentioned, maybe it's related to Disney. But
yeah.
again, um, lots of positive previews. The only thing that I caught wind of from these previews and the play sessions is that I think some people got a so we got the trailer and opening night live. I don't know if Indiana Jones was actually playable though, like on the show floor. I don't think it was
Mm,
playable on the show floor. I think press got a closed demo, so they got to watch someone else play it for like an hour, and then got to go home and write about that.
yeah.
And again, while those reports are really positive, a lot of people were like, the segment they showed seemed to be like it didn't give a sense still necessarily of how it's all playing moment to moment. But then other people said it feels quite Hitman-y, like
I
you
saw
go into
that
these
thrown around.
missions. Yeah, you go into these missions and you've got to like kill the target and get out, and you can do some things which are more combat orientated, some things which are a bit more goofy, like you kill someone and take their outfit to blend in, or you can look around the environment for like, open a trap door and you can push them in, and so it kind of has that kind of Hitman energy to some degree as well. Um, so yeah, I mean, anything from you here on indie?
Yeah, yeah, I heard a couple of those sort of things getting thrown around about it in its preview and stuff like that. And I mean, I don't know, a lot of them don't really sort of scare me. I mean, the sort of gameplay aspect maybe a little bit, but I kind of think that if you go in for like a bit of like a simmy thing, I feel like that might be quite cool, to be honest, to just have like a level that you can approach in lots of different ways, and kind of like think on your feet sort of situation, which I feel like is very indie. Where he just gets himself in
Mm,
a fucking shit situation and he just
you got to
wings it.
improvise,
Exactly. Yeah, I think maybe that's kind of what they're going for here.
definitely.
So yeah, I mean, I don't have an issue with that, assuming they capture it right, the essence of that. But from what I've seen so far, like in terms of the essence of that game being an indie game, they seem to be nailing it. So I'd like to think they'll nail that aspect as well. Again, it's not something I'm really climbing the walls to play. I'm not like super buzzed about this, but
Same.
I am gonna play it. Like I think I will give it a playthrough. Probably on or close to its release date for sure.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm not super buzzed, to be honest. I'm looking forward to Avowed and Towerborne both more than this, if I'm
Yeah.
honest.
Yeah, I think I'd probably agree with that, like in terms of my hype levels. But I also like I like what machine games do. Like they could be making any game here really, and I'd probably be looking forward to playing it Game Pass day one, because we're
Yeah.
we're in the lucky position where a lot of these games do come into Game Pass day one. And it's something's just come to mind while you were speaking there. Like I remember reading a couple of previews that like there were some like lots of puzzles that were really that felt quite good,
Hmm.
and that you find skills through the game.
Hmm.
In like books and stuff. Like there's some RPG light systems in that
That's cool.
sense.
Yeah.
So there is some progression to some degree there, which I thought was like an interesting thing, which makes sense. And you've got a camera, and you can like take the artifacts back and like store them, I think, in your room or something. He said, and you there's like an in-game camera for taking pictures of things, which then might be relevant later in the level, which is like a very indie thing. Bearing in mind he's like an archaeologist, brawler sort of adventurous sort of guy. So again, I as I've continued to say, I think they're really nailing what they've gone for here. When they sat down and they thought, well, it came from Todd Howard, didn't it? The whole vision. But when he sat down and thought, what are the elements that we want to pull from to make an Indiana Jones game? I feel like they've just nailed that. And if they can follow through with the execution on that into making it like, a coherent game experience, and I think they've really got something special on their hands here. It's a damn shame it's missing the Game Awards cutoff though for this year.
Yeah,
damn shame.
Yeah, I think a game like this is like, I know we didn't say it for Black Myth, but I think a game like this is more of a shoe-in for a Game Awards nomination than something like Black Myth. So, but yeah, I mean, I feel like that always happens with Xbox. I feel like they always do a release that's past the cutoff point for the Game Awards. Not smart, but then I don't know. You don't really need something to be labeled or given the Game Awards to succeed, So yeah,
no, not that they'd win anyway, even if it was a 98 on Open Critic.
Exactly,
As we found out with Forza Horizon 5, of course, highest rated game of the year. Sorry, it's actually in a genre that's not very popular. Sorry, Indiana Jones isn't actually popular enough. It's not actually very popular, so it's not gonna make the cut this year.
No. Yeah.
Cool. All right. We're going to pull the show together then, guys. This has not ended up being a short, sharp show because we ended up getting that fucking breaking news. I really almost messaged you today, Tim, saying this is going to be a short show unless there's some breaking news during the show. I really almost sent that to you, but I thought, there's no way. So.
Short show turned out to actually be one of our longer ones over the last few years.
In a while, yeah.
But hey ho, it is what it is. Still had a good time, didn't we?
We had a good time. It was a good time. It's a good time.
I will be charging you for 2 hours though.
I didn't know I was getting charged at all.
Have you not got my previous invoices?
Oh, that's what those are. Oh my god.
I thought those were all jokes. I thought that was a recurring joke.
Sweet. Okay, guys. Well, if you're here with us live, if you're listening to us afterwards on a podcast service, if you're watching, thanks for taking the time. We'll be back next week, probably maybe at normal time, which is 7:30 British Standard Time. We apologize for our inconsistency at the moment. It's my fault. I'm busy big, got stuff going on in my life at the moment. So if you want to keep up to date, follow me down on Twitter. Follow Tim as well. Sometimes he posts his stats about Marvel Snap. It's all very interesting and fun.
Free credits, dude. You get free credits.
You're telling me you couldn't just record your Pokemon card obsession at the moment? Because if you could just that, that's easy. That's easy.
You guys want pack openings?
I'd love that. Yeah, just do that. That'd really make me laugh. That'd really brighten my day.
Okay, fine. Next time I get a Pokemon pack, I'll do an opening and I'll post it to Twitter.
Fantastic! Look at that. We got him. This is great.
God.
I like all of Joaquin's comments, and then at the end, there's just a really sincere thanks, guys.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. You've been great. I mean, he started the show with I make pee pee when I poo poo, and then thanks, guys. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Peace out, ladies and gents. Have a good one. We'll see you later.
Bye, everyone.